Are you here? Yes, you are. You're listening to the Paul Leslie Hour. Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to our interview with Clint Black, one of country music's all-time greats. Since Clint Black's first album, Killin Time, came out in 1989, he's been making folks happy with his performances and recordings ever since. In this interview, Clint Black will be telling you about his recollections of his friend, the late, great Jimmy Buffett, plus a little bit more. Hey, before we begin, won't you please subscribe to Paul Leslie's YouTube channel? And if you don't mind, like the Paul Leslie Hour on Facebook. Yeah, you could do that. Okay, I'm ready to hear from Clint Black. How about you?
Hello.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Clint, how are you, sir?
Good. I'm home. I'm out of the road routine for a while, cooking home-cooked food instead of takeout on the road. So it's good.
Great always to be in your own bed.
Yeah, and it doesn't move. Yeah.
It's very much an honor to be talking to an icon in American music. Thank you so much for talking with us.
Oh, please, thank you. We're talking about Jimmy today, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It was so abundantly clear that he meant something to you. And can you tell us a little bit about the first time that you met the man?
Well, the reason for the first time I met him, I can precede that with jamming at Copper Mountain after a show, sitting around playing songs with the Dirt Band. And I probably did a few more Buffett songs than usual. They finally said, we're going to tell him you're a parrot head. So next thing I know, my manager is calling me and says, you've been invited to do a show with Jimmy Buffett in Mobile at Ladd Stadium. So it was me, Little Feat, and Jimmy Buffett. And so I got there, met Jimmy, and of course, he's, an idol to me. And so I was just telling him probably, how many songs of his I sang in the bars. And he said, well, we have to get up when I do my acoustic set and sing some with me. So along with doing the show, I got to sit in with Jimmy, and I knew all of his melodies so well that, anytime he was singing something that called for a harmony, I knew where the harmony was. And actually, because I sang the melody so many times. And I remember at one point he looked over at me like, yeah, you know these songs. And so it was a big thrill to hold my own, with Jimmy. And I was still brand new, so I hadn't really fully developed as an artist or performer. So I was mightily pleased to be doing that with him and to get some kind of a look of approval from Jimmy. So we stayed in touch after that. We wrote a song together, and I ended up touring with him one summer. And one of the greater things about him is, as a new guy in the business who didn't know how it all worked, he would, I'm going to let a dog out here, excuse the noise. Okay. He would let me call him from time to time and pick his brain and learn things, and sort of mentoring, just on some phone calls.
Can you remember any of the advice? I know you said on News Nation that you talked to him one time for 2 hours. Was there anything that you remember as being especially insightful?
Well, I don't know if there was anything in particular, He kind of told me how he did things and what he expected from his, the economics of his touring, which really, I couldn't apply it to the economics of my touring, not being where he was. But, I think it was just an overall sense of what the artist's place is and how to successfully benefit from the people around you. and kind of, one of the things was, what percentage of the gross do you net? And you can kind of look at that to determine if you're, anybody's really wasting money or, just how you're doing in terms of, what you're spending, what you're taking in.
You mentioned a moment ago that song you all co-wrote, Happiness Alone, and it's an interesting story song. What was he like to write with?
He was great, brilliant. I've written with writers over the years who were better at one thing than the other, maybe better lyricists than melodists, or vice versa, or maybe they were especially good at the overview and story and backstory and that type of thing. Jimmy is one of those guys who had it all. So it was a short process, only interrupted while he had to step out into the lobby and try to save the manatees. And it was a TV crew, I just need to step out here and give him a sound bite, to help the cause. So he stepped out and then he stepped back in. We were writing it as he had an office on Music Row in the Wealth Building. So I just went by there one day and we made quick work of it. It was Jimmy. We all felt like we knew Jimmy through his music and later his books. And we did know him because that's who he was, what he wrote about it. The stories he told, that's who he was. So as you can imagine, being around him was fun. And he's really smart. He was a brilliant guy. And, it was as much fun as any parrothead would imagine.
You've even compared him to Mark Twain, which I'm sure Jimmy would have been very flattered. Mark Twain was one of his heroes. What gave you that kind of insight?
Well, I'm probably not the only one who said that, as so many of us knew what he thought of Mark Twain. So I knew it. I knew just from interviews or his books, So it was a natural place for my brain to go, thinking about Jimmy. He was an adventurer. He wasn't going to be content to follow the beaten path. He was going to go, off on his own and find and discover and have experiences. I think he knew that the best way to be a writer is to go have experiences to write about. So, to me, he meant more than Mark Twain meant to me. So I think more highly of his writing than Twain.
Well, one American that I think we could put in the same group in terms of great writers with Twain would be Hank Williams. And you, Clint Black, Toby Keith, Alan Jackson, Kenny Chesney, George Strait, I almost missed one, boy. You guys, this was one of the greatest tracks on Jimmy Buffett's album License to Chill, when you all sang Hey Good Lookin'. It was just magical. Can you remember making that magic happen?
Yeah, I went down to Key West and hung out down there for a couple of days and recorded that and Conky Tonkin. It was hanging out with Jimmy in Key West. I mean, it's like, okay, you can hang with Jimmy anywhere and love it, but hanging with Jimmy in Key West and going to his favorite restaurant, the studio experience was, it was great, but it wasn't like going with Jimmy to his favorite restaurant. That to me was a highlight. But recording that song, those songs, that little Mailboat Studios, that was just easy. It was easy. It was no pressure. I've worked in only a few situations where it wasn't relaxed enough quite, and I guess you can guess if I didn't tell you that's not the way it was with Jimmy. And Mac and all of those. those guys, it's just a pleasure, a joy, real easy. The work got done pretty quickly because in that kind of environment, it just will just come together quickly.
What you're saying is a good reminder to everybody, because sometimes when we see the star on stage or when we listen to them on the radio, we forget that they're music fans too. The other night you were talking at the Bluebird about meeting Willie Nelson and, going to eat a meal with Jimmy Buffett, probably at Louie's backyard, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
You seem like you're just as much a fan as the people in the audience.
Yeah, and I don't get jaded about that. I have learned over the years to be cool, and don't put anyone up so high that you make them feel weird. So being around people I'm a big fan of, I've done it the wrong way before, and probably made somebody uncomfortable. I was too big a fan, and nobody can relax around that. It's white hot. And so, I'll always, if somebody comes up walking next to me in an airport and they're really excited about it, I'll, get them to walk with me and try to get them to relax so you have an actual normal experience. So I've learned over the years to be that guy, and it makes it a lot more enjoyable for me and a lot easier for them to be around someone who's a huge fan.
Good advice if we see Clint Black backstage or at the airport.
Yeah, it's like, there are probably a few people out there who don't want to feel normal. But I'm not one of them, It's like, normal is great. I like people. So, if there's a normal encounter to be had, I always feel like, but, I also understand. There are people who've never met a single famous person in their life, and then they run into you, and so they have no experience with that. So I try to take it all into account.
Well, I want to just remind my audience about the 35th anniversary of Killin Time. Very exciting. That album has really endured, and you're going to be hitting the road next year.
Yeah, we're going to be in the U.S. and Canada, and we're going to start the show with the very first song on Killin Time and play in sequence the entire album, and then continue on with as many more hits as we can squeeze into the show before everyone needs to go to the restroom. And we're excited. We've been already on tour all this year, and we've pulled a song in and out of the show, songs that we don't normally do, album cuts and like Winding Down or Straight from the Factory. So we've been working them up on the road, woodshedding at Soundcheck, and then we'll bring some of them into this show, and the next show it goes out and another one comes in, so that we're comfortable with the songs. And we'll get to February of next year and we'll kick it all off with 3 nights at the Ryman. We're excited. I haven't seen the band this excited since Lisa and Lily started touring with us. We do that every year now. We'll do that again in late January, early February. So 3 of the 7 guys, including myself, 3 out of the 7 of us played on that album. My bass player and my lead guitarist. So we're going back and remembering what we played on the songs we haven't played in 30 years or more.
It's like a family experience.
Yeah, we are a family on the road. When you get great people, you hang on to them. And so, half the band almost has been with me for over 35 years. And the rest of the guys, one of them's new, but he's my cousin. And then the drummer's fairly new. And the rest of the guys have been with me for 7 to 10 years. So we are like a family. The crew too. I've got guys who've been with me for 30 years or more.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is the best thing about being Clint Black?
Well, the first thing I thought of was my daughter, Lily. Being her dad is the best thing about being me and being Lisa's husband. Very lucky. We have a tight family. We like being around each other. COVID didn't put any kind of strain on us and, being locked up together. So that's the best thing. And the other best thing is that I have fans who have continued to stick with me so that I can go out and play and play in venues I like to play. I play mostly evening with shows and nice 2,000 to 4,000 seat theaters, which makes it an intimate show, and I can share little stories here and there. Just being able to do that was my dream. I didn't want to be bigger than anybody else. I wanted to be able to do this for the rest of my life. So that's it. Lucky to have a great family and do it the way I do.
Do you have any parting words for anyone who's reading or listening?
Well, again, I'll go with my knee-jerk reaction. This is a time to make an extra effort to be kind. A lot of people suffer over the holidays. A lot of people struggling mentally, and there's plenty of ugliness to go around on the social media. People who feel emboldened to be cruel. You don't know what kind of battles people are fighting out there, and so be one of the kind people.
Great reminder. Well, Clint Black, thank you so much. It's such an honor to talk to you, and thank you, Maureen. It's an honor.
Yeah, she's wonderful. Another person I've worked with for decades now.
Wow.
But thank you. I enjoyed this, and I hope you have a great Thanksgiving.
You too.
I don't think this will air before Thanksgiving, will it?
Yeah, I work pretty fast. This will be up, God willing, on Wednesday. So I wanted to get it out to people.
Oh, great.
For Thanksgiving.
That's great. All right. Well, happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Absolutely.
And hope you're surrounded with people you love.
And now I can say, in addition to all the other many blessings of family and food, I got to interview Clint Black.
Well, the honor is mine. I appreciate it.
All right, sir. Until next time.
Oh, take care, Paul.
All right. God bless.
You too. Bye-bye.
See you.
We thank you and appreciate you dropping in for the Paul Leslie Hour today. You know, you can help the Paul Leslie Hour in our mission to provide independent media content like this by visiting www.thepaulleslie.com/support. We truly thank you. This is your announcer speaking. Performance of The Entertainer intro song and Corina Corina outro song, courtesy of John Primorano. Well, that's it for today. So until next time, be safe and be good.